Hi, my name is Jennifer Santoyo, and I'm here to share my testimony of how Jesus saved me from witchcraft. And so basically how it started was I was introduced to a curandero, which basically means a healer. And it is known in Latino culture. And I grew up Catholic. And so I grew up with a curandera, which was basically on my mom's side of the family. My great grandmother used to be one. And I remember when she would come from Mexico, we would have random people every weekend over at our house. And she would heal people specifically in the kitchen. And I remember curiosity got the best of me. And as a kid, I remember opening that door. And I remember that overwhelming smoke just hit me in the face. And I see my abuelita drink a bottle of alcohol. And she would spit it on the person she was healing. And on the side, she was boiling some type of hominy kernels. And it was said that they would shape and they would form, and somehow it would let her know what kind of healing she was going to be able to do for that person in particular. And so anyway, so I was no stranger to it, right? So at the time when I met the curandero V, I thought it was okay, right? So I remember inviting him over to our place, and I had asked for a cleansing, right? And so I remember when he came over, my boyfriend at the time was not home yet, but he was already out of work on his way home. And V's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and grab this bag. And in this bag, I have a bunch of crystals. I have different types of herbs and oils that are going to cleanse you of whatever negative spirits you have, so you can feel a whole lot better. And so I remember he grabs the bag and starts brushing it around my forearms, my back, my front. And then my boyfriend finally comes home. And when he comes in, he doesn't say anything. And I guess it was because he didn't want to be rude and didn't want to interrupt what was going on. But I did see him sit on the kitchen table. And at this point, he's just observing, right? And so keep in mind that my boyfriend doesn't believe in any of that stuff or anything in general. It's more of kind of like an atheist. And so I remember V, he's doing the cleaning, he's doing his thing, and he just turns and looks at my boyfriend and tells him, hasta los que no creen van a creer. And so basically what that means is even the ones that don't believe will eventually believe. And so I was taken aback and I was in shock. I'm like, oh wow, why would he say that? And they haven't they haven't introduced themselves to one another. And I thought it was a little odd that he would say something like that, right? And I was like, okay, that's a little creepy. But anyway, he gave me his number. He's like, well, I do massages, I do limpias de casa, the brujeria, like to get that all away from you, like I do those too. And I was like, okay, great. And so at the time I thought it was something honest, right, and sincere. And so I did reach out. And I remember asking him, I was like, hey, can you teach me how to heal people, how to heal the sick, how to limpiar casas, when all this paranormal stuff is happening and stuff, because like I feel it in my house sometimes, or my daughter experiences it too. And so he was a little hesitant at first, but eventually gave in. He's like, yeah, I'll teach you. And so that's how it all started. So he started training me, right? And it would vary with like different things, materials. One of the trainings he gave me was with candle work, right? How to work with candles, how to invoke what it is that you want. And then it came with like working with photos, like how to keep someone away from you or how to keep someone close. And there was one time in particular where I remember he had like this bin. And this bin, he had like a bunch of like naked photos of women. And he was telling me how he was doing specific spells for these women because maybe they have marital issues or might have had issues of people like doing brujeria on them, right? Witchcraft on them. And so he told me what he did was like white magic, right? I'm pretty sure we all have heard of white magic and black magic, right? So again, I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm processing the training that he's giving me, right? And everything started off sweet, right? I was like, oh, this man's a man of Jesus. He would always wear like his necklace that had like a big cross on it and stuff. It wasn't until when I first went to his house for these trainings that I was a little bit skeptic, because when I walked in, he had like so many different idols. Like he had a snake, he had like all these different gods and stuff. And it was a little weird because he would have like glasses of like water with like scissors and a ribbon on it. And I'm just like, what's that for? He's like, oh, well, that's gonna, you know, if anyone tries to do harm to me, like it's gonna stop it. It's gonna end at the door and it's not gonna come anywhere near me. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I remember going out to eat with him, and we're eating or whatever, and I'm telling him like, hey, I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna get married to my high school sweetheart. And he just looked at me dead in the eye, and he's like, you guys are not gonna be together in 10 years. And so when he said that, I was like shocked. I was like, oh wow. I was like, someone who has of God's not gonna say those things, right? I was like, wow, that was very negative. But I brushed it off. I didn't think anything of it. But then I noticed, like, the more I'm interacting myself with V, it was starting to get a little bit darker. So now it comes to the point where he's showing me how to work with photos, how to put needles on them. And I was like, I got a flashback. I was like, man, something doesn't seem right here, right? If we're doing work of God, like, why are we putting needles? Like, last time I checked, I remember I would see that in black magic. And so as time went on for like a couple of months, like I noticed V started to get a little darker with me. Like he would start to tell me very sexual things that he would do to me, and I'm like, oh man, like maybe I was like, something's not right here. I was like, why would this guy tell me those things, you know? I looked up to him more as a mentor, right? Because again, I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're healing the sick, we're taking paranormal stuff out of people's homes or any negativity. And I remember one day in particular, he's like, hey, in order for you to be very successful on what it is that I'm teaching you, he's like, I need a naked photo of you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, yeah, you need to be completely naked. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a photo. I'm going to take multiple photos of you, and I'm going to put it on an altar. And in this altar, I'm going to put candles. And he was just telling me what he was going to do with it. And supposedly that this was going to give me more power. And any high beings are not going to come and attack me while I'm doing these good works, right? And so I left his place, and I'm thinking, yeah, like there's no way I'm going to do that, right? And then some time passes by. We weren't talking because I was a little freaked out about what he told me. Until one day he texted me. He's like, hey, he's like, let's hang out. I want to teach you some more things. And I'm like, okay. So made my way over there, and he's talking to me about herbs and other plants and stuff and oils, about how to mix them and stuff. And I remember he turned to look at me, and he's like, hey, are you ready? And for some reason, weird reason, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. And honestly, everything was so blurry to me. So when I said those words, all I could remember was undressing myself. I literally undressed myself. I laid in what he had was like a bed made out of wood. And that's where he would do massages and cleansings for his clients. And so there I am laying down naked. And he takes those old Polaroid photos, right, those cameras, and starts taking photos. Now, when he's taking the photos, I realized my vision got very hazy. And it's like if I wasn't like heavily intoxicated. I was like I felt like I was heavily intoxicated. I'm just laying there and I'm smiling. And I'm not like necessarily fully aware of what was happening. So at this point, I'm like, whoa, like I was heavily manipulated. I was taken advantage of, right? As far as like where I am spiritually, right? And so anyway, after all that happens, I snapped out of it, and I'm at home and I'm ashamed, right? And so I'm like, what did I just do? And I was still having a hard time processing all this. But I remember a coworker of mine was like, hey, you need to watch this video. And so the video that she told me to watch was about a lady from Colombia who was a witch, but said that Jesus had saved her. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me watch this video. It doesn't hurt. So I watched it. And that same night, guys, I remember this dream so well. And it was V. In my dream, V was in my dream. And he's telling me, come inside my house. And so there I am walking in his house, right? But before he could lock the door, I remember seeing this lady. This lady's walking by in front of his house. She has this bowl. And in this bowl, there's like powder in there. And the lady gives V this bowl of powder. V takes the bowl of powder and starts mixing it and starts cooking something with it. So eventually I'm thinking, okay, he's trying to feed me something, right? But then I woke up from the dream and I could not open my eyes. I know I was awake because I could feel my body, but I couldn't move. I was like paralyzed. And then all of a sudden, the bed starts shaking tremendously. My feet started to burn, and I felt this really heavy weight, like a compression on top of me. I don't know what it was. It's kind of like when you get sleep paralysis. I'm pretty sure you're kind of familiar with it. I think it's happened to me a couple times already. But so that overwhelming feeling of pressure came on top of me. But then I heard this voice loud and clear. And this voice told me, this man that you thought was of God, that was your mentor, he's not of God. So as soon as I heard those words, I was like, whoa, what is happening? So the bed's shaking. There's pressure on top of me. My feet are burning. And I'm like freaking out. I'm hearing this voice, this beautiful voice. And I said, all right, I don't know what it is, but like if whatever I was doing was a sin, I said, God, forgive me. And this feeling, please take it away. I don't want it, you know? And so as soon as I said those words, whatever was on top of me went away. I was able to wake up. And I remember I was crying, bawling my eyes out. And so I woke up crying, and I wake up my husband, and it's 4:44 in the morning. And he's freaking out. He's like, what's happening? Are you okay? And I said, no. I was like, I just had an encounter. I was like, I heard this voice and I need to tell you something. So I literally started to tell him everything that this man, this so-called mentor that I had, the curandero V, I told him everything. I was like, listen, honey, I'm so sorry. I got naked in front of this man. This man took pictures of me. This man told me this. So I told him how manipulated I was, or how I was in a trance, that this curandero, right? Now I know that he was a witch. You know, he was a witch, whether it's black magic, white magic, it's all a lie, right? And so when I start confessing myself to my husband, I literally got down on my knees. I started repenting. I started telling God how thankful I was. But then I also had a feeling that the Holy Spirit was telling me like, hey, because I own so many candles, so many crystals, so many things, tarot cards, everything, sage, palo santo. So I was led to grab a bag in the kitchen. And I started throwing all the stuff that I owned in a bag. And I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me, you need to get rid of these things. And so I did. So I'm running outside with the bag in the middle of the morning. And I have all the materials in the bag. And I'm just getting ready to break it, right? So I have it up here and I'm getting ready to break it. Because I'm like, if I throw it away, I don't want anybody else to get a hold of these things, right? So as soon as I'm about to drop the bag, I felt like something yanked my hands and the bag, like didn't want me to break it. So as soon as I felt that right away, I started breaking it. And as soon as I broke it, I felt so much better. And so this is basically my testimony, because I thought I'd share it with you guys, because I mean, some of you may be in maybe a similar situation, or might know someone, right, that might have tap their feet into the occult, or maybe playing the Ouija board, or maybe relying on crystals, right, to give us healing properties, or la santa muerte, the charms, or seeing psychics. I used to go see psychics all the time, and I was actually reading tarot cards as well. But these are what they call New Age practices, right? So they're actually occult practices that supposedly assist us with our personal transformation. But really, these are items and things that witches, warlocks, that they prey on, right? So they can do their dirty work, right? And so what I found out was that we don't have to rely on any of those things, right? God's the one that's really ultimately going to help us, heal us, that's going to save us, right? And so I remember there was something in the Bible that said that, nor shall you bring an abomination into your house, lest you be doomed to destruction like it, right? In Deuteronomy 7:25. And now that I think about it, when I used to sage my house all the time, my daughter would get so angry. She's like, Mom, why are you doing this? And I remember she didn't want to sleep in her bed for like months, because she's like, Mom, I'm seeing shadows, I'm seeing this. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's going through a phase. But no, I was literally opening portals and allowing unclean spirits into my home unknowingly, right? And so I just want to let you guys know that there's just so many dangers when it comes to like looking into other things, right? When we want to know the future, we want to know if we're going to have money, we're going to know if we're going to get married or have a luxurious life, or whatever the case may be. But when we bring in these objects, right, we are only allowing spirits to come into our home and wreak havoc. And that could be in our marriages, our relationship. It could be bringing in poverty, sickness, constant fighting, and, you know, again, hearing footsteps or hearing voices in your house. So I'm just here to tell you guys that God is so powerful, and if God was able to forgive me for the things that I've done, like, I know He is able to forgive each and every one of you. And I just want to let you guys know you guys are not alone, right? If you know someone that may be going through depression or having anxiety, or maybe they're in a similar situation where they're like manipulated and are stuck or can't get out of a situation with witchcraft and stuff. And I just wanted to let you know not to fear, because God has not given us the spirit of fear. He gave us the spirit of power, the spirit of love, and a sound mind, right? And it's very clear, right? God says, let no one be found among you who practices divination or interprets omens. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. And that's absolutely true. And we just have to be willing to be able to throw these things away, right? And renounce any connection that Satan and his demons may have over your home and over your life.